I'm on it constantly. Strange. Here we go. Yep. Now you can see the number. That's the number you want to call. That number. The same number right here. This is it. What's funny, I don't look at the side of my face too often. But I can tell you this. The doctors did a hell of a good job on my nose. It's pretty straight. Pretty straight. Took a couple different times. I had to take a couple different whacks at it. Silver. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't want to get in trouble. You should always buy everything at the TikTok shop, except this. Yes, I will hold it up on demand. So when you get a pen ready and you go, hey, you know what? Where should I? How did you break it? Oh, I actually didn't break it. It was broken for me 8 times, maybe 9, but for sure 8. The first 4 times by my dad before I was 8 years old. The 5th time when I was a freshman in high school, and I saw some guys bullying this little kid. I forget his name now. I just saw him on Facebook. Tracy Tabin. That's his name. Tracy with an I. And he's, I don't know, maybe something kind of Asian. Anyway, really small kid. He was getting bullied by some assholes. So I went over there to stick up for him, and one of them decided to punch me in the face. And he did. Punched me right in the face, broke my nose. So there you have it. Doom scrolling, stop. Don't doom scroll. Stay here. Hang out with us. We're about to make some s'mores. So yeah, so that's how I got my nose broken. And then of course, I've never gotten my nose broken in doing MMA. What in the world? What? I can't believe this. I got a restriction already. They already restricted my fucking live stream after 4 minutes. Can you believe that shit? They've already restricted my live stream. They said it was for violent behavior. We're bombing a country that never attacked us, and we're talking about my violent behavior. 150,000 people have died in Gaza, but they just restricted my viewership because of violent behavior. Oh, I was talking about how I got my nose broken in high school. Yeah, and the fact that I was sticking up for a kid who was getting bullied. So, but apparently just mentioning that got me restricted. My viewership is now restricted. They won't let anybody who's just scrolling see my live stream because I'm too violent. Yeah, it's a weird world out there right now. It is a very, very strange place. It's just crazy, man. So anyway, well, if you want to share my live stream with other people, that would help a lot. Otherwise, well, that's the thing is it's almost impossible to do a live stream and talk about anything other than, I don't know, you could talk about the Kardashians and what's going on in their family. And as long as you're careful about your verbiage there, you're fine. And you can talk about, what you think is going on with Dances with the Stars or America's Got Talent or Survivor or whatever. I mean, that's what basically that's what they want you to do. They're trying to take freedom of speech and the fact that these platforms are incredibly dangerous, and they've realized that they're incredibly dangerous. Well, that's the thing, is that most people, Paul, do care. Most people care more about Dancing with the Stars than what's going on in the Middle East. It's that simple. So because of that, they know that they might lose a little bit of viewership around the edges, because people that really want to talk about what's going on or find out information about what's going on, they might go somewhere else to a less restrictive platform that's harder to use, maybe. Well, I don't even want to mention that on here because that could get me restricted. I mean, who knows? A while back, this is a couple of years ago, I had a cigar and a beer, and they kicked me off for illegal something. I'm obviously over 21. Yeah, that's the problem. Is most of the news outlets just regurgitate the exact same thing. So what I do is I go to the most diehard, right wing Republican, conservative places, and then I go to the farthest left that I can find as well, because somewhere in there you can start to sort of parse out what the truth is, because it's somewhere in between. Um, Obviously, on the one hand, it really is right now. It really is walking on eggshells right now, and that's the problem. Is that that's exactly how they want it to be. They want it to be something that makes you nervous to say important, and they're just getting started. There'll come a day where if you talk about the things that I've talked about, it's just on here in the last 6 months, you will have a knock at your door. Period. Look at the reporters who did really hardcore reporting, and I don't mean like, oh, Don Jr. did this, or it's nothing like that. Like, real got down in the weeds and found out something nobody else knew, and bam, IRS is at their door the next day. Well, that's a hell of a coincidence if you believe in that sort of thing. Yeah, I worked at a radio station for 5 years until I got fired the fifth time. And the fifth time I got fired, they were actually serious, because we had another bomb threat. And this time it wasn't actually a bomb threat. It was this crazy guy who threatened to unalive us when we left the building to go out in the parking lot. And knew where the owner of the station's car was parked that day, which was interesting because it wasn't in its normal spot, which meant he had in the parking lot, if not waiting outside. So that made the owner very, very nervous. When he came to me, he said, "Look, man, I'll go outside." I called the Phoenix PD, and they're going to be here. And I said, "Come on, man, let's walk out to the car." And he goes, "No, are you not listening? Literally, if you do that, this guy could be out there." And I said, "Yeah, just walk behind me. I used to do diplomatic protection. I'm pretty thick. Odds are the bullet won't hit you. And by the way, if I get shot, I'll be literally the most famous talk show host in the United States by tomorrow. I'll make us both rich." And he just stood there staring at me for a second and said, "You know what? I don't think that your flippant attitude and canon approach is going to work with our station anymore." And I thought, he actually sounds serious this time. Well, I was actually only half joking. Uh, there was a point in my life where I would have done something crazy like open the back door and run for my car just to see if anybody tried. Yeah, this guy he was very upset with me. It was back in 2010, 2011. It was 2011 when all that stuff was going down with the Catholic Church and all the different priests and the Epstein stuff. It's always the Epstein stuff. It's always Epstein stuff. And I was hammering our local diocese pretty hard because the guy here had covered for some bad people and whatnot, and I was kind of hammering on it. And yeah, this guy was like an ultra conservative Catholic guy who said, you're gonna go to hell if you keep talking about the church this way. I was like, look, man, if they don't want me to talk about them like this, it's they got to get their shit together. Like you can't do this. He didn't understand that. He thought that, hey, look, it's in the church, then that makes it okay or something. I don't know, but that's the thing is that I get the instinct to stick up for people that maybe like family members or whatever your same social group. But at some point, you have to say, well, this is just too far. This is too far. So, it seems like in the last, what was that, 16, 15 years ago? Yeah, decade and a half ago. Broadcasting school in San Francisco in 1974. Is that in all caps because that was back when that shock jock got shot? Because I'm pretty sure I remember. I thought that was on the East Coast, though. Well, it's not right for anybody to do bad things and get away with it, but especially churches, especially places that we go, that are supposed to be, sanctified. On the other hand, I suppose the other way to look at it is every other religion, every other Abrahamic religion says that stuff is totally fine, totally okay. It's written in the holy books. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. It is not a big deal. Okay, well, that that's going to be a tough one moving forward because nobody wants to hurt their feelings when it comes to their cultural standards. Charlie, what are you doing? Your message got covered up. What happened in church stays in church. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Let's hope that because the thing is that I see now, and I didn't see this before, but I see now that there is a real battle going on for people's souls. And when you look at the options that are on the table for us at this point, as far as large, well-organized groups of people that could potentially protect each other, there are three major Abrahamic religions. Two of them spew hatred constantly. That's all they do. They just spew disgusting hatred. And then one of them talks about turning the other cheek, talks about forgiveness, talks about loving thy neighbor. Doesn't say anything about who you should unalive, which rules are so important to the faith that if you break that rule, you will be unalived. Nothing like that. So, yeah, Buddha. I think Buddhism and Christianity go very well together. And it's a funny thing too because they are both very similar in a lot of ways. They're very peaceful religions. They're very kind religions. Um, I think that Buddhism teaches a little bit more about being introverted, sort of looking inside of yourself instead of looking outside for answers. But I think that ancient Christianity, interesting factor that most people should, and that is there were 12 disciples. And I remember something about Jesus telling each and every one of them to write down what they saw, what they heard, what they experienced. Write down their testimony. There's only 4 books. That means that there's 8 that are out there that are not in our Bible. And you got to ask yourself why. If this guy comes down from heaven, sent by God, not one of his junior lieutenants, but God himself, and he commands that his disciples all write their testimony. Why do we only have 4 books? That tells me that somewhere along the line, somebody, perhaps a Roman emperor or 2, took some of the stuff out because they didn't want us to read it. They didn't like the way it made us feel. Maybe it made us feel too independent of a central governing body. Who knows? But I can't help but think that when the time is right, those gospels that we don't have now will be found. It's an interesting thought. Because I know that the Nag Hammadi scrolls found in Egypt, the year after the scrolls were found in Israel, the Nag Hammadi scrolls are very different because they are Christian scrolls. And so they have the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, the Book of Words, which is a very interesting one because the Book of Words is actually written, it's extremely old, I think 3rd century, I'll check, but it's written in the first person. I, Jesus, say to thee, it's a book of sayings, written in the first person narrative. Words from the Nag Hammadi scrolls were written in what century? The Nag Hammadi scrolls were bound in the 4th century, so 300s. That's very old. Wow, holy shit. However, the original texts contained within them, such as the Gospel of Thomas, were largely written in the 2nd and 3rd century. So the 2nd century would be 100 from 32, 33 AD. Wow. And they were written in Greek before being translated in Coptic. Wow. That's some pretty cool stuff. It doesn't say anything about a list of codices. There we go. Yeah, it's the 2nd and 3rd. So the second century AD would be 100. Yeah, would be 100 to 200. That's extremely early. That's some of the earliest Christian texts that we have. Now, by the way, the Nag Hammadi scrolls were hidden because the Roman emperor decided after the Council of Nicaea what would go into the Bible and what wouldn't. Well, there were a lot of texts that were in the Bible, but they went through and took out the ones they didn't like for whatever reason. Now, of course, the thing that you have to ask yourself is, if the Bible was written by the hand of God, then who is the emperor to remove parts of it? The Antichrist? I don't know. He's not supposed to be doing it, but he's doing it. Let's see. The prayer of the Apostle Paul, the secret book of James, the Gospel of Truth, the treatise on resurrection, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip. See what I'm saying here? This is very interesting, right? Let's see. On the origin of the word, title given by scholars, the treatise discusses the creation of the universe and cosmology. Wow. Book of Thomas the Contender. The title was given at the end of the text, the dialogue on the risen Jesus with Judas Thomas concerning the knowledge and truth as recorded by the Apostle Matthew. The Apocryphon of John, short version. Whoa, I didn't even know about this one. The Holy Book of the Great Invisible Spirit. The Gospel of the Egyptians, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, revelation in the form of questions and answers given by the risen Christ to his apostles. Well, that's going to be interesting. Oh, some folks probably believe I'm the Antichrist. Think of my 2 ex-wives. Actually, it's probably not that bad. They think I'm just a pain in the ass, not necessarily the Antichrist. In order to be the Antichrist, you have to be absolutely, unequivocally against Christ. Now, as far as I know, the President of the United States has never come out and said that Jesus the Nazarene, because clearly he would never call Jesus Christ, because Christ is the Messiah. So, for instance, Jews never call Jesus Christ. They call him Jesus because he's not the Messiah. As a matter of fact, they believe that he led an enormous amount of Jews astray and that he is actually a demon, a black magic, horrible human. So you could honestly say that the especially the Orthodox Jews are extremely antichrist. They hate Christ. Problem is, as a Christian, I'm taught not to hate anybody. So this whole thing about being anti-Semitic, not anti-Semitic. They did murder him, yeah. Maybe he had it coming, though. That's what they say. They say he had it coming. You know, you got to ask yourself how, like, well, what does that mean? If somebody says Jesus was a bullshit artist who was leading our people astray and that he was sent from hell, and so we unalived him and he deserved every minute of it. That's pretty anti-Christ. That's antichrist. What can you call it? Like, it's so simple because it's so funny that it's right in front of us. Oh, there's no, yeah, Tom, no shit. there's no such thing as Judeo-Christian. I used to say that word, and then one day I realized what I was saying. I actually started laughing. I actually laughed at myself. I was like, wait, it's completely opposite. But those are two completely different ends of the universe from each other. Let's see. Ooh, this one should be awesome. I haven't read this one. I haven't read all the Nag Hammadi scrolls. They weren't available when I was reading them. It had been stolen. The Dead Sea Scrolls had been stolen from the Huntington Library and reproduced, and I got to read those. Yes, it's very oxymoronic. I got to read most of those. The government of Israel has all of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They won't let anybody have them. They won't let anybody study them or read them. It's dicks. But they did give a full set of copies to the Huntington Library to study. And the Huntington Library in Los Angeles, California, I believe Pasadena, actually, Altamont, something like that. Anyway, they accidentally let some out. And so there was a book written about it. Everybody, the people, the Israeli government was pissed. They were like, damn it, that's important information that we don't want everybody to have. Why not? That doesn't make sense. What was the one I was going to tell you? This is, Dialogue of the Savior. This is 29 pages. Is it pages or when is it? Pages. Wow, 29 pages. The title is given at the beginning and the end of the treatise. The content consists of Jesus' conversations with the apostles and Mary Magdalene about the way to salvation. Which I think I might have read some of that. Because you have to understand, the Nag Hammadi scrolls, if you read these, it will blow your mind. You think that Christianity is a kind, loving tradition now. Wait until you read these. You're going to be like, wait a minute, I'm not buying it. Buddha lived 500 years before Christ, but these guys must have been fucking twins. Like, they must have been really, really closely related, because the things that they talk about and the way that they talk about life are so similar in so many ways. When I read the New Testament the first time and I went to church, I was pissed. I was like, man, this is a cartoon. This isn't a religion. This is stupid. This is just a bunch of idiots cheerleading, sitting around going, hey, God's great. Yep. Hey, God's great. Yep. Okay. Is that it? Like, how does this pertain to me? And they go, well, the Old Testament. It's like, no, I don't want the Old Testament. That's a book full of rules and dumb ones at that, and hatred. I don't want anything to do with that. Well, the Old Testament's a book of laws, and the New Testament's a book of love. Okay, well, let's just skip the laws, because I've read enough of them to know that they're idiotic. He's definitely going to be heading for one of the inner concentric rings. Yeah, so the New Testament, I read that, and I was like, okay, cool. Then I got a hold of the Nag Hammadi scrolls in about 97, 98. And I started reading the Nag Hammadi scrolls, and I was just shocked. I was like, wow, this is really, like, this is deep. This is where the meat is. Like, this isn't just fluff. And then it hit me that Jesus talked about that. He talked about the fact that there were levels and that there were mysteries. Well, what mysteries? Well, read the New Testament. There are none. What? Why aren't there mysteries? Because the mysteries have been stripped away for stupid people. Now, Do I have a problem with stupid people? No. Stupid people are some of the best human beings. I mean that. Low IQ individuals can be some of the most trustworthy, kind, loving people in the world. It's been proven over and over again that they're more trustworthy. They tend to lie way less than intelligent people. They don't strategize. They don't have this backstabbing thing. They're just very simple. They're just very simple, very straightforward. Okay, they're more like dogs. And we all love dogs for a reason. So, in that sense, low IQ individuals are some of the best of us in a lot of ways. But having said that, I was cursed with not a low IQ, so I wanted more. I wanted to be able to really exercise and think it through and wrestle with concepts and break things down and, you know, philosophically with good and evil, right and wrong, light versus darkness, and what does it all mean, and where are we all from, where are we all going, and so when I got a hold of the Nag Hammadi scrolls, woo, man, let me tell you something. Nag Hammadi scrolls they're deep. I have the chemicals in the back again. Want to go into business. I have no idea what you're talking about, but if you want to text me, here's my number. It's right here. This isn't just for buying silver. So you can text me, and I have chemicals for what? Boy, I'm trying to think of anything that I've ever done where I needed chemicals. You need some chemicals for gold if you're leaching. I wouldn't be doing anything but placer anyway. I mean, the idea of doing plaster gold actually is really exciting to me. The idea of literally going out in a river somewhere in Northern California. Yeah, if you can just make your own gold bucket, it's just easier. But yeah, the idea of going out and I had a buddy that used to do that. He was a software engineer. I'm going to say in '96 he made about $120,000 a year. So that's about $200,000 a year now. It was very. I had one of the very first Vipers. Well, hello from Ohio. Hey, buddy. He had one of the very first Vipers. And I said to him, why don't you talk to your wife and let you get a Viper? It's a completely useless car. And that's exactly what he said. He said, well, I've got this little piece of property up in Northern California. My wife and I go up there and put a little cabin, hang out, one weekend a month, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there's a creek that runs through it. I go out there and I pan for gold. And I said, you pan for gold? He said, yeah, just pan for gold. And I said, well, wait a minute. How much gold can you find in a weekend of panning? He goes, well, it's not bad. I mean, I probably get a couple $1,000s a month. I was like, a couple $1,000s a month? Remember, this is when gold was at $350, $400. I mean, fuck software engineer. I'd rather have that claim right now, because that means that he was probably pulling 5 or 6 ounces. I mean, 5 ounces now, that's over $20,000. If you do that in a weekend, hello, I'd be doing it every weekend. Yeah. So the idea of owning, and it's funny because I was actually have pulled up on my computer 400 acres in Northern California, and it is an old mining claim with a river that runs through it. Yeah, I don't like California from the standpoint of taxes. On the other hand, this is way Northern California. This is not San Francisco. This is where the real people in California still live. These are the guys with the pickup trucks and the gun racks in the back window and normal humans. Well, that's the thing. If it's gold panning on an industrial scale, it is very hard work. But if you're doing it for fun and for free, where you're just out there doing it, awesome. No, as a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be going with Randall. My buddy Randall has invited me on a bunch of them, and I got to go. Randall Carlson. You know, that's why I don't do them, because I mean, Jesus Christ, if you're friends with Randall, that guy is a real geologist. Like, you know, do I love geology? Yes. He is, I mean, number one, he's got a degree in it from way back when, but he's been studying it for 60 years. And I mean, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. His recall is shocking. It is shockingly good. Man, I gotta tell you, you guys have got a hell of a gold belt out there in Australia. I know that for a fact. Um, let's see. Very interesting stuff. Um, the first apocalypse of James. Oh, dialogue about the secret teaching that Jesus taught to James, first before his death, then after his resurrection. Interesting. The apocalypse of Adam, the revelation of the flood and the ultimate fate of the world, which Adam received from God and passed it on to his son Seth. Oh, wait, Adam, like Adam and Eve, Adam. Whoa, I would love to read that. That's interesting. Well, here's what my buddy told me. I said, you really paying for gold all day. Keep in mind, he's my height, almost. He's like 6'5". Actually, I'm at this point, I'm just barely 6'6". I was 6'7". Now that I weigh 330 pounds, my gut literally has made me shrink by an inch. So I got to lose that so I can be myself again. But he's a tall guy, and I said, "You're there scooped over in the river all day," and he goes, "Dude, 85, 90 degrees, super sunny. You're out there. It's hot. Wind's blowing a little bit. You get your feet and your hands in ice cold water." He said it's the fucking greatest feeling in the world. Take a little break, fall asleep on the rocks, get back up, you know, have your Coke, get back in the water. He said it's just a relaxing day. Nice long relaxing day. And he said at the end, you got a bunch of gold. And I thought, son of a bitch. This is what I need to do. It's funny that you said that, because what I've started doing is in the morning getting up and doing an hour on that recumbent bike I told everybody I was going to buy. I bought it. I got lucky. I got one of the life fitness machines that you would normally see in one of the big gyms. It costs like $4,000. The guy used to own a gym, and during COVID, he went bankrupt. So he has a warehouse full of equipment. And so I bought a $3,900 industrial machine for, I think it was $395 is what I paid for it. And it is kick ass. And then I also got, I got one of the Airdyne bikes that we use for MMA, for conditioning in MMA, where you do the thing and it's got the fan and it just, You can switch back and forth. You can cheat. You can use your legs for a while and give your arms a rest, and they just go back and forth. And then when you're feeling froggy, you can not pedal very hard and just really push with your arms until your arms are on fire again. Nice. See, that's the thing, Mr. Tripp. You gotta know where to go. Remember this. In 1849, during the gold rush, the beginning of the gold rush at Sutter's Mill in California, their ways of extracting gold so barbaric that if they got a quarter of the gold, half the gold out of the ore, they were happy. So, but what they did do is they did disrupt a lot of gold ore. A lot of that gold ore over the last 150 years has been washed down into streams. Well, gold is the easiest thing in the world to find if it's there because it's heavier, it's denser than granite or sandstone or whatever. So literally, you look in all the cracks and crevices at the bottom of a creek or a river, you look at the bottom of a waterfall, you get a little 3-foot waterfall. It's just all kinds of stuff. Or what? Okay. Random question. Go for it, Big Bob. What do you got? I'm starting to think I know why they cut all this shit out of the Bible. There's an 8-page treatise. Hi, Monica. There's an 8-page treatise in the Nag Hammadi Scrolls. It's called The Thunder and Perfect Mind. A poet. It is a self-proclamation of a female deity on the non-dual, all-encompassing nature of the divine. Ooh, that'd be a little spicy for those backwards people. I almost use the R word. For those backwards people. Yeah, exactly. And so if you know where to look, you get in there. Look, guy Pioneer Polly on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Let me make sure. Pioneer Polly. That's so funny. Somebody put Pioneer Polly teeth because he has it really, really exaggerated incisors. He's a young guy. I'll tell you exactly how old he is. Born in 91. So he's a Canadian YouTuber, gold prospector, adventurer, former actor. I didn't know that, but it makes sense now. What he does is he's got gear. He's got scuba gear, and he goes out to these claims and goes down at the bottom of these rivers. He finds pools, and he goes down there with his scuba gear on and just gets these little teeny flakes. I mean, tiny flakes. It's like I'll give you an example. If you had a flake this big, the size of this little mini disc, okay? If you had a flake that big, you're looking at somewhere that would be about a gram, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $120. If you could fill up a bottle this big, this little Visine bottle, if you could fill this up over the course of a month, you'd have, I'm going to guess, that's about 2 ounces. So that's about $8,000, $9,000. Now, if you could fill something like this up, that would be, let's see, $90,000. We'll put that in perspective, kids. Fill that tube up. Fill this tube up with this much gold, and you got 90 grand. And by the way, what are you doing? You're outside in the sun, exercising all day long. No Wi-Fi, no fucking 5G. I love silver too. Silver, gold, man, it's just hard to not love both. No, No, they are very sensitive to that word. By the way, Pioneer Polly's on YouTube. Um, so Polly with a Y, fun kid. He's got, oh my God, he's got 924,000 subscribers. Holy sheep dip. Let me put that in perspective. Wow. 924,000 subs. So I'm going to go to Pioneer Poly. It's amazing to me. Wow. Okay. The reason I'm going to this channel is because I have this little AI thing that helps me know about and okay, so he doesn't really worry about making money on his YouTube channel. He's only making $3,500 a month. If he wanted to monetize this, I'm sure that he could times that. There are people that have got a few 100,000 subscribers that are making 40 grand a month, but it's very heavily into advertising. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives two shits about this because he literally goes out and finds, it's like if he makes money while he's finding gold, God bless. Yeah, see, I've got metal detectors. I've got some good metal detectors, but gold detectors are pretty awesome. By the way, speaking of pretty awesome, look what I got. I was very happy about this. You put a 1-inch dowel through there, and you can use this to twist down into a log, and then you put a 1-inch dowel into the log, and then drill another hole into the log that goes on top of it. And when you put the log on top of the one with the dowel in it, you now have a 1-inch wooden dowel that runs through both logs, which means they're not going anywhere ever. Just in case you want to build something out of logs, like a log cabin or something. But it's just good to have a wood auger, that's right. It's just good to have something like this. Now, if you have something like this and you're my size, you get a monster of a kid that can also do lots of manual labor, you can pretty much build anything you want. And that's the fun part, is that you can use all wood construction. You don't have to use any nails, because literally with 1-inch wooden dowels, drill anywhere I want. Drill all the holes and hammer these big dowels in instead of using nails, and they will hold very, very well. So, all right. Well, it is Friday night. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I've never seen it. I know the movie. I've heard of it. So, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, is the shit going to hit the fan? Yes. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to talk to some guys. I'm going to talk to some guys that are in the electrical engineering business, guys that have master's degrees, so that I can explain in very specific terms. Because the key is, if you understand that the grid's going to go down, that's great. If you can't convince your friends and your family, then what are you supposed to do? Prepare for everybody? It doesn't work that way. And by the way, being prepared, When you look at all of the billionaires in the world, every billionaire has an escape plan now. Peter Thiel literally just asked Argentina for citizenship and is in the process of building a huge compound way the fuck down at the end of the world, down by Tierra del Fuego. He wants out. Wait a minute. Wait. That doesn't make sense. Like, this is the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. Why would you want out? Why would all of these extremely wealthy people be building enormous underground bunkers in New Zealand? New Zealand? The fucking island at the bottom of the world. Why there? Why did Mark Zuckerberg just build like some ridiculous, like $40 million underground facility in Hawaii? Bro, you put your shit on a volcano. Do you not see the flaw in that? So here's what I think. I think that there are a lot of people in the United States who don't realize what's about to happen. When they do, it'll be too late for them. So I'm looking at things that are sustainable. Now, what do I mean by sustainable? Well, there are certain places that certain towns that are better than others. There are certain towns that, do you want to live in Detroit? No. Halfway between Detroit and somewhere else in the middle of bumfuck Egypt on the edge of a very large lake, yeah, absolutely. Not a bad choice at all. Would you want to live in Los Angeles or San Francisco? No, absolutely not. Seattle, outside of Seattle, there are some beautiful places that you probably do very well. Reading is a small town, very, very far north. It's north of even Sacramento by a couple hundred miles. It's up there. And there are small towns all around that area that are in mountains where they have enormous amounts of water. Yeah, the only problem with upstate New York is it's too fucking cold. Cedar Creek, Missouri, now that is a good location as well. It's a very good location. It gets really damn cold there, but it's a very good location. So, what I'm looking at is where would you want to live where you have everything that you could need to survive and still not have a lot of people nearby. Well, British Columbia is clearly, that is, you can't survive there. You can't survive. British Columbia is beautiful. It's a beautiful place. It's a little close to the Juan de Fuca fault, which is a little nerve-wracking. Yeah, well, Scotland, it's sunny here like 3 days a year. Yep, me too. Yeah, the thing is, the properties that I'm looking at, because I know that doing this by yourself, it's funny because like Area 51, it's like, oh man, if you were out there in the middle of nowhere by yourself, yeah, there's no water. That's why there's no trees. You want an area that Greenland, you can live on a glacier. What's the problem? The idea that if you're living right next to Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee, New York City, know, I wouldn't want to be anywhere within 500 miles of the New York metropolitan area because you've got New York, you've got Boston, you've got, you know, DC, you've got all of these places that are extremely, extremely dense. I wouldn't want to be anywhere in New England. I mean, maybe way up in Maine, but I mean, my God, if you've never experienced a Maine winter, if you don't know what it's like in February in Maine, it's just not for anybody over about 40. Once you hit about 40 years old, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. That's the thing. If you're living in Chicago, well, you're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter what the winters are like. You're not going to survive long. But you know, there are places all across the north central. Yeah, the winters are brutal. However, those small towns, they'll survive. They'll be fine, even without electricity. Even if the grid goes down forever, they'll be fine. The crime rates now are extremely low. They are what we would call high trust societies. And high trust societies are obviously any situation where culturally everyone is homogenous. So everybody's Christian. Everybody's everybody's the same. And because of that, I'll give you an example. Coeur d'Alene. You know, people say, "Oh, well, that's where all the rednecks are." It's like there are black people that live in Coeur d'Alene. Culturally, they're the same as the white people, though. That's it. Your skin color doesn't matter. It's not about skin color. It's color is not the problem. It's culture. So, you know, when you see these young black scholars out there rioting every weekend, running in packs like wild animals and just assaulting each other and innocent bystanders, if you think that's bad now, the first month after the grid goes down, that will be everywhere all the time until they're all dead. And they'll all be dead because they'll kill each other. They will literally kill each other. And once they're all gone, well, then culturally we're all the same again. But in the meantime, you're going to have to deal with a lot of people who are completely lawless. They have absolutely zero regard for your bullshit European Christian values, whatever, trust, and that's the problem. Well, if you live on a farm in Alabama next to a spring, then you're probably going to be doing just fine. You'll probably be okay. Something about Alabama. See, Alabama is, I want to look before I say something about Alabama because, man, there's some fucked up cities. Like some of the worst places. As a friend once put it, not me, someone else, friend. So if you look up your crossing Martin Luther King Boulevard, you're in deep shit. You are in the wrong place. Missouri is a fantastic place. Missouri and North California are my two locations. Now, the reason that I like Northern California so much, in spite of the stupidity of the government there, is the government doesn't have as much reach way up there. It is extremely conservative, and it's a lot of common sense, a lot of hunters, a lot of really cool people up there. And of course, if you've ever been in the mountains around Mount Shasta, Humboldt County, a little bit, Sonoma's beautiful, but it's just too damn goofy for me nowadays. But and Humboldt is starting to get there. No, God, no, he's not going to make it much longer. He's having all issues. Let's see. So Birmingham is a place where I would absolutely not want to live under any circumstances, period. However, Huntsville, I've been to Birmingham and I've been to Huntsville. And Birmingham was depressing as hell. It was just a lot of really, really fat people. Yeah. Huntsville, on the other hand, was interesting because it was a lot of money. Home of the Redstone Arsenal and NASA headquarters. That's actually where I was. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Fun place, by the way. I'm going to take my son there as soon as I can. Let's see. They still have an SR-71. Oh, there it is. Yep, they sure do. They got a new one Blackbird sitting right out there next to the parking lot. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. I wouldn't mind being there. But of course, once Grid goes down. Yeah. No, absolutely. When I took both of my daughters to space camp. And man, they just wanted to keep going and going and going. They really did not want to leave. I was really surprised. They really did not want to go home. 10 days, all day, busting our ass, class to class to class. People will break for food, back to another class, back to another class. And as we're getting back down towards the end of it, my daughters were like, can we stay? So what do you mean? Like, well, can we stay for like another 10 days? You guys want to do more of this, huh? And they were like, yeah, this is really awesome. And I said, well, you got to book this stuff way in advance. And they're like, no, okay. They were not happy about it, but just the fact that one of my daughters hated school, literally had nightmares about going to school. But this to her wasn't school. This had nothing to do with school. This was fucking awesome. Now, they probably learned more in 10 days, physics, geometry, et cetera, than they learned in 2 years in school. And it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. Because this is kind of hands-on learning. Like, we had all the monitors, we had Capcom, we were sitting at consoles just like Houston. They were going through a checklist. We were going through the checking for countdown. Once they got into orbit, they had to go through all of the checklists in orbit before they could go outside and all this stuff. And they absolutely loved it. To them, it wasn't even learning. It was something different. And there's a lesson in there somewhere, because I know that if we paid our teachers $100,000 a year and still gave them the summer off, man, it would be awesome. Well, that's the reason, buddy, is we gotta pay the teachers more, man. I think you can't overpay teachers, and you can't overtrain cops. You can see what happens when you undertrain them. I have never been as disappointed in the police as I have been in the last couple of years. I am absolutely. It makes me sad to see how unbelievably bad they are at their jobs now. I would have never imagined this in a million years. If you had told me, yeah, cops are going to get to the point where it's laughable. how angry and abusive and lazy they are. I would have said, no way, not a chance. But I would have been wrong. Oops. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, it's Friday night, and not sure what I'm having for dinner, but I might do something crazy. I might get the kid and I a pizza before we watch a movie. It's Friday night. We got to watch a movie. It's a family thing. Do it every Friday night. So anyway, call me over if you need some silver at really amazing prices. That number right there. Spot price. Try to go buy it somewhere else at spot price. I dare you. And when I say spot price, obviously I mean we're talking about like buffaloes, 999, quadruple nine buffaloes, good stuff. And I've also got a handful of Morgan silver dollars and peace dollars as well. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. You too. All right, guys. I'll talk to you. Let's see. Saturday's my night off. I'll talk to you on Sunday. All right. Way through on this live stream, guys, and we didn't lose anything. Broiled salmon. Hell yeah. Just picked up 10 rounds. 10, not 1 ounce rounds. John, you're not telling me you just bought 10 ounces of silver for $60 an ounce. I would feel very bad for you if that turned out not be silver, because that doesn't make any sense. 10 1-ounce rounds for $600. You realize that is $16 an ounce below spot. That, I mean, I can go to any place and get at least $70. Did you buy this from somebody who was desperate for money? Because look, when it's too good to be true, it usually is. So the only thing I can think of is you either bought that from somebody who was super desperate, and I hope you know them really well, because if you don't, I would have that silver tested immediately. It's too low a price. Oh, okay. If you're trading for something, then yeah, okay, that makes sense. You paid $600 for something, but they might think it's worth $750. I got you. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that happens all the time. I get people that want to trade me for Second Amendment stuff all the time, and they might have paid $1,000 for it, but they're happy to let it go for what I would have paid $800 for. So, okay, that's different. Yeah, a trade is cool because you can always, people who are horse traders and good at it, they can work their way up. There's the story of the guy who started with a paperclip. So he wasn't going to stop trading up until he was a millionaire. There's a whole story about him and how he did it. He literally was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a teenager. And he was like, I'm going to keep trading and keep trading and keep trading. And finally got to the point where he managed to trade something for a car, which he then traded for a better car and traded for something else, and then got a piece of property. Apparently, he made it $2 million. So trading stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you just walked into a shop and gave them $600 and they handed you 10 ounces, that's not legit. Like, you can't do that. That's the thing about silver that is so awesome. You might not get spot price at a pawn shop, but I literally just called a buddy of mine who owns a pawn shop right down the street in North Phoenix. Not a fancy neighborhood, not a place where people would be, arguing with you over the price. They'll take whatever they can get. $5 below spot. So he's paying $70 to buy it at a pawn shop. which means he sure as hell isn't selling it for 70. He's probably selling it for almost $80. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that going around. I don't think $10 an ounce. I mean, if you can do it, that's good for you, I guess. I just don't have the heart to do that, so I never do. But some people, they can sleep at night by charging $bucks an ounce. Good for them, I guess. So anyway, all right, you guys. Well, I will see you Sunday night.